mom was 17 when she was pregnant for me. She
Yeah.
was 18 when she had me. My dad was 3 years older. And so we all kind of grew up together. And when I say growing up together, I mean, when we were preteens, my parents were in their 30s at that point. And so whenever they wanted to get high or hang out on the weekend and have their fun, it was in the house. It was with the kids. It was when their friends were over, we were all hanging out. So that was how that went. So, and my dad, yeah, my dad was both my parents were avid pot smokers. So, and they
Okay.
never hid that from us.
Wow. What was that like? I mean, having the retrospect that you have now, looking back, being that you were exposed to that. I mean, granted, you know, a lot of times these days, people they kind of put marijuana and alcohol kind of on the
Uh,
same level, but
yeah.
at the same time, like marijuana was considered a type of criminalized drug, owning or using it, marijuana. So just being in that
Especially in
environment.
especially in the 90s, like it was in the 90s and early 2000s, it was you were going to jail for a bag of weed. You were
Yeah.
going to get arrested for a bag of weed. But my parents were avid pot smokers. They never hid that from us. And I always thought my parents were smoking cigarettes. I never for a long time I did. um but I knew something wasn't necessarily politically correct. I guess it wasn't an experience that other kids I got that weren't going through,
Yeah.
especially when I got to like junior high and high school. I'm like, yeah, this is just not okay. And the good thing is that I never looked at what my parents did as cool, because I always thought what they did, because they were my parents, they weren't cool. So I never got into smoking pot. I never did. Never.
So there seems to be that there was an element of like, okay, they were doing this behavior, but it wasn't necessarily the pot smoking that for you was the bad example. It was that there were other things missing that made you kind of feel like you had to mature a little bit, and
Oh yeah.
yeah, and that allowed you to then recognize that, okay, this maybe is not normal, that this is like, you know, happening right in front of me like that.
Yes.
All
Yeah,
right, and
yeah.
what do you remember that exact moment, what that was like in comparison to what your friends
um
were going through?
so I remember, uh and I love my mom, and she did the best she could, and again, we were all growing up.
Yeah.
um so I think their definition of being good parents, because their parents in their childhood was so horrific, was as long as we gave you 3 meals a day and you weren't living on the streets like we were, we're great parents.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna beat them up about that. They did what they had to do. I love them, whatever. But I did get the fact that I think I must have been about 7 years old. We were in Queens, and my parents were partying, and they got up, or they were sleeping in because they were kind of hungover, and I took $20 from my dad's wallet. I
Yeah.
just took, and I'm 7 years old. I took $20 and
Okay.
I hid it. I hid it somewhere. And then all of a sudden that Monday came, or that Sunday came, and my mom was searching the cushions, couch cushions for money, everything for money, because my dad had to go to work and he had no money to get on the train, right? And all of a sudden, my mom's a psychic, a witch at sometimes, and she had this sixth sense, and she looked at me, she says, my nickname is Jazzy. She says, Jazzy, do you have money? And I said, yeah. She says, how much money do you have? I said, I have $20. And mind you, I'm 7 years old. She's like, give me the money. Give it to me. And I said, okay. And I gave her the money. And she's like, where'd you get this? I said, I took it from that because I knew you guys were going to be looking for money. So she's like, okay. And that was it. So she didn't reprimand me. So I knew, I said, something's not right, because I don't think anybody's experiencing that, as a 7, 8-year-old kid.
Wow.
So I knew
Wow.
something was not right.
Hey
What
friends,
is
thanks for
that
tuning
for?
into another clip of Johnny's Jabs. If you liked what you just saw,
please be sure to share this with your family and friends and comment below. And if you want to get more content like this, it's easy. Just click the bell below to subscribe. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Johnny DeVore. And I'll catch you guys next time.